Going on, everybody? It's Elijah Reyes again for the third part in our Python introduction series. Recall that last time in part two we talked about basic operations for integers and strings. So we talked about adding, multiplying, subtracting, division for integers. We talked about counting, finding the length of a string, and finding the place of a substring within another string. You could replace the word element as substring. We're basically looking for something very specific within that string. And let's move on to some conditionals. So I'm going to create a new file, basic conditionals with the if statement. Da, da, da. Control S or Command S to save. Intro conditionals.py. Save. Alright. Let's remove those arrows. Alright, so we're going to declare two integer values. Let's say num1 equals 100, num2 equals 1000. Just two random numbers. You could use anything that you want. And now we're going to use the operations we've used before, adding, multiplying, subtracting, and division. And we're going to do some basic conditionals on those operations. So the first condition is going to be find out if actually, before getting into that, we're going to do some less than, greater than, and equal to stuff. Find out which integer is greater. So very basically, the if statement goes just like this: if, and we're going to say num1 is greater than num2, colon, then we're going to print to the console. We can write anything in here. Let's stick with the double quotes for now. Num1 is greater than num2. We're also going to throw an else in here. So just typing else by itself means that if this fails for any reason, if this, not that if it fails, if this is not true for any reason, then whatever is under the else statement will run. Print num1 is not greater than num2. So Control or Command S to save, Control Command B to run, and we're going to run it. And we know that num1 is less than num2, basically because num1 is 100 and num2 is 1000. So num2 is 10 times greater than num1. And our if statement is saying if num1 is greater than num2, then print out num1 is greater than num2. Else, print num1 is not greater than num2. So we're going to switch this up real quick, and I'm going to change that else statement to an elif. So the elif requires a condition. So else if num1 is less than num2, print num1 is not greater than num2. So we run this, we're going to get the same result. Num1 is not greater than num2. I'm going to say if this if statement and the elif statement that follows. If either of those two turn out to not be true, print. There should be no other case other than that num1 and num2 are equal. So we should get the same output as before. I'm gonna run it. See, num1 is still not greater than num2. So it checked this first part and saw that it wasn't true, so it skipped it. It went to the elif statement. The elif statement of num1 being less than num2 ended up being true. So what the code that was run, the code that ran was this print statement here, and of course by that point the code snippet doesn't even reach this else statement. Now if I set num1 and num2 equal to 100, and 100, for those of you who don't know, 100 is equal to 100. Sorry for the cheesy nerd joke. You'll see that this will fail, or not fail, will turn out to be false. This will also turn out to be false. And what will actually run is what's below this else statement. So Control S, Command S to save, Control S, Command B, Control B to Command B to run, and you'll see num1 and num2 are equal. So that's just very basic if, elif, and else. So now what we want to check, let me just comment this out. Remember, we can comment a number of lines out with 3 double quotes surrounding what we want to comment out. Excuse me. We're now going to check out um, the operations. So let's just determine operation results. So I'm going to create another variable called num3. And num3 is going to be equal to num1 minus num2. You can do anything here that you wish. I'm going to make num2 back to 1,000, excuse me. And we're going to run some conditionals on num3. So we're going to say if num3 is less than 0, then we're going to print out num1 minus num2 is a negative number, sci face. So we know that this is going to turn out to be true because num1 is 100, num2 is 1,000, 100 minus 1,000 is negative 900, and any negative number is going to be less than 0. So let's just save and run. And as you can see, the output says num1 minus num2 is a negative number. So now let's change that up to num1 plus num2. And let's change our condition to if num3 is greater than 500. Then what we want to print to the console is num1 plus num2 is greater than 500. I'm going to throw in another statement in there, so I'm going to use elif again. Remember that if our first if statement turns out to be false, then the next thing that's going to run is whatever is within our elif statement. So our elif is going to contain if num3 is less than 500, print less than 500. 1, 2, 3 exclamation points. So let's just run this real quick. num1 plus num2 is greater than 500. And obviously that's true because 100 plus 1,000 is 1,100, 1,100, and 1,100 is greater than 500. But what if I change this to 200? We should expect for the code under our elif statement to run, since 100 plus 200 is 300, 300 is less than 500. So I'm going to run this, and you'll see that our output is less than 500 with the 3 exclamation points. To further emphasize that this is true. And I can go all day with different operations and throwing conditionals in there for these integers, but I'm going to leave it here as it sits, and you can play around with this as you wish. I know this stuff seems boring now, but stick around and we're going to build some pretty cool stuff in the near future. So now we're going to do some conditionals with our strings. So first thing we're going to do is declare a string. Let's just say my string equals hello, my name is Elijah Reyes. I am from the United States. So the first conditional is going to be check to see if Elijah Reyes is in my string. So I'm going to basically do another if statement, if, and I'm going to say Elijah Reyes in is a built-in Python method or function. It's used to literally check if this substring is within whatever variable we're putting here. And the variable we're going to put here is my string. If Elijah Reyes is in my string, print we found him. So save and run. And of course Elijah Reyes is in fact in my string, and our if statement turned out to be true, and our output was here. Else print we couldn't find him. So I'm going to change this name to one of my dog's names, Shiloh. He's a 100-pound husky. He's about to be 3 years old. So you're going to see that this first if statement will turn out to be false, and the code that's going to run is what's beneath our else. So, as expected, we couldn't find him. Comment this out. We'll do one more operation conditional with our string, and I don't know what we really want to do. Let's just say something along the line. Let's do some conditionals with the length. Check to see if anything's too long. So I'm gonna start putting into your minds, thinking about how you're going to use this stuff in real life. So let's think about different apps that you use to log in, like Facebook, for example. I log into Facebook. I'm creating an account with Facebook, and they have very specific requirements for their passwords. They don't want your password being too short. If it's too short, some hacker, some bad person can figure out your password and and log into your account and just do bad things to your account, make you look like a crazy person or whatever they want, make people think that you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. So it's something very, very important. And so here we're going to take into account uh, integers and strings within the same conditional. Um, Sounds like a lot of gibberish, but it's very simple. So let's just say minimum length is equal to 6. So we want at least 6 elements in the password that we're checking. Let's just make a password variable. Doesn't We don't have to call it password. We can call it anything. Let's say password is hello. So we want to check to make sure that this password um, satisfies the minimum length of 6. So we want to make sure that people are not able to hack into this account. So if length, remember the length function that we used right here in our previous tutorial. If length of password is less than minimum length, print, hey, your password is way too short, buddy. Else, print, your password is good. So here we know for sure that there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in our password variable. We're checking the length of the password variable. If it's less than 6, which in this case it is, we're going to print, hey, your password is way too short. And let's just save and run. And we got the output we expected. So if I change this to my complicated password, then that's obviously greater than 6. There are more than 6 elements in the password variable. If I run that, the output is going to be your password is good. So this, of course, turned out not to be true. And what was run was what was under the else statement. So that's it for this tutorial. Stay tuned for the following tutorial. Still don't know exactly what it's going to be just yet, but we're definitely going to throw in kind of what we've been learning over the past few tutorials and make something that's a little more practical to what you might see in the real world. So thank you so much for your time. It means a lot to me, and I hope you learned a little something like I said. You guys take care, and I'll see you on the next one.